right, so quick, we're going to have a discussion primarily, and then at the end we're going to take some Q&A. So we'll have a mic that will be allocated so that you can ask questions to help you grow. The objective is totally just to help you grow, and we use these forums for that reason. Randy, let me know when we're actually live on. Hey, thank you for joining us. This is going to be an amazing conversation that I think is going to be helpful. We have a studio audience with us here, as well as you that are watching online. We want this to be very informative. So it's not a church service, so you don't need to say amen. You don't need to say praise the Lord. We're going to give you opportunities to write information that we think is going to be paramount for you, as well as ask some questions that you may want to ask, as well as do our best to take as many questions as we possibly can that would serve you well. The objective has always been for these things is to utilize our church's influence to bring gifts that are doing well in the marketplace to help you do well. So our philosophy of church is if we help, a lot of times churches get accused of only wanting 10% and not teaching people about 90. And our hope and aspiration is to teach you about 90 so that you can easily manage your 10. So listen, if you are in the space, do me a favor, take a few seconds of time and go ahead and share the Kingdom Church broadcast. It's going to be very, very informative, and we want you to help us get the word out by sharing that. So if you're watching, all of you who are online watching, do us a great favor and share. We are leaning and dependent upon you to share, and we're going to take a few moments to allow you to get yourself together. And as we are getting ourselves together, we want you to go ahead and share this with us. So this is a series of forums that we've done in the past. We've hosted John Morgan, we've hosted John Rivers, Ameris Bank, a host of others that we anticipate on hosting so that we can help bridge the playing field. A lot of times the reason why we are not doing well is because we don't have the information. And so we want to make sure that we give information, because how we will succeed is by having, somebody say it with me, information. So that's important. So without any further ado, I want to just kind of let you know, we'll talk for about 45 minutes. And then from there, we will take some questions that will be on the audience side as well as the church side. So those that are in here. So we're giving people just a quick opportunity to grow their sharing and all that type of stuff. And tonight is what college won't teach you about business. We're not saying that you don't need a college degree. I think there are some things that you will need a college degree for. But we believe that there are some things that the business world doesn't always translate. A degree doesn't always translate education in certain aspects. So we want you to be a part of this conversation, continue to share, tag somebody that you know needs to be a part of it, and we're going to continue to rock from there. I want to introduce our guest tonight. He is, for some, maybe a stranger. For others, he is not. He is a very gifted legal mind, as well as his background is in taxation, which is a very important piece that I wanted him to share about. He is a business owner. He is the owner and president of the We Law Firm, and he has a various host of other enterprises that he is a part of. His business doesn't just span into legal and auto accidents. It's also spanning about managing it as well. He has offices not just here, also in South Florida, as well as in Atlanta. They just opened up that office. I wish they would have used me as the broker. But anyway, it's an amazing person. I met him several years ago through somebody else, Greg Francis, and we've been rocking ever since. And so I want you all to make him feel warm and appreciated. And Mr. Skinner Lewis as he comes. Y'all online, y'all can clap virtually. Skinner is an honorary member here at TKC.
How's everybody doing? Perfect. It's bright up here.
It's very bright. It shows everything up here. Skinner, thank you again for taking the time out of your schedule to come and be a part of what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish. I want you to share a little bit about your background so that people can understand you're just not an attorney. You also have a serious background in taxation, extremely well versed in the business world. Can you kind of share how it's just not about being an attorney? Because people might just say, well, he's an attorney. He doesn't know anything about business. But can you kind of share about your background, your educational background, and how that all ties into running an organization in a business?
Yeah, so for me, my background is I graduated from UCF, originally from Palm Beach County, Boynton Beach. And so I went to St. Lucia's High School, and then I went to University of Central Florida, where I got my bachelor's in legal studies, minor in business, and minors in African American studies. I thought it was very important for me to know who I am as I came out into the world. And then from there, I went to FAMU College of Law here in Central Florida, downtown Orlando, and I graduated from there in 2009. And then I did my master's in taxation at Florida Atlantic, master's taxation for CPA. And so for me, it was always about business and relationships. Even when I was in law school, I knew that you can know the information, but in order to do well, you have to be able to know how to network and build relationships. So I never worked for anybody. I'm one of those Haitians that had 10 jobs. So my freedom means everything to me, and anyone that's an entrepreneur knows that we work 80 hours so we don't have to work 40. That's our goal, because our freedom is the first thing. And so even when I graduated law school, I didn't work at any law firm. I figured I'm Haitian. I can go connect with some more Haitians and be able to create my own referral network and build business from the floor. And I started my law firm straight out. So I got a lot of stories to share with you, from going big to small to starting over again and to building to another level, because the road to success isn't straight, it's zigzags. Yeah. So I think that's what a lot of people have to understand first. So that's just my educational background.
So you started off in South Florida, moved from South Florida to Orlando, launched your firm in South Florida first or Orlando first?
So when I was in South Florida, I was dizzled. It
means bad.
Bad in Creole, yes. And my parents said, you're getting out of Palm Beach. We don't care where you go, but you're getting out of Palm Beach. And even my story, when I started high school, everyone said all you needed was a 2.0 to graduate. I said, oh, that's easy. So I could get a 2.0. So my freshman year and 10th grade year, I was getting into a lot of trouble. And I decided that I should take harder classes, because that was one of the issues. I had too much time on my hand. And from there, I took a lot of honors and AP classes to be able to pull my 1.8 GPA to a 3.4 by the time I graduated, right? And I never thought about college until my guidance counselor said, what about college? I said, college what? I'm not an athlete, I don't play sports. I wasn't thinking about college, but then, I was in ISS, and a lawyer came in there and talked to us. And he pulled up in a Porsche, a nice Italian guy, nice suit. And I said, what do you do? He said, I'm a lawyer. I said, no. Lawyers are squares. You're not a lawyer. He says, man, listen, when you're good at what you do what you want. And that was something that has sat on my brain. I'm talking at Jones High School next week. Every kid that I talk to, I tell them, when you're good at what you do what you want. So that means get the skills so your personality can shine. And for me, I needed a profession where my personality can shine and I wouldn't be limited. And that's why I chose law, because there's nothing you can do without the law being involved. So from South Florida, I moved to Orlando. And then what I learned is where you go to school typically is where you're going to get your most important relationships. So a lot of people tend to stay where they go to school. Unless you go to FSU, you're not staying in Tallahassee. Yeah. But Orlando is a growing city. it's just a convergence of a lot of things at the same time. So I came to Orlando, and after I graduated, I decided to stay in Orlando. But my roots are in South Florida, but my family are in South Florida, so I'm in South Florida
weekend.
a lot.
Yeah.
Every other weekend, not every weekend.
Why you
I'm
can't
down
make
there a
it on
lot.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Let's ask about the business side. Your taxation background.
Yes.
A lot of people struggle with S corp, LLC. I'm starting a business. I'm going to start an LLC.
Yeah.
Can you give a simple, dumbed-down version for people to kind of know where they need to begin? Because a lot of people have businesses and they're all LLCs, and they don't necessarily need to have that, but that's just kind of what culture says we need to do.
Well, the way I operate is you start with a hobby, right? You test it. I think before you go, a lot of people get excited in the paperwork.
Yeah.
They don't have one client yet. They go give the attorney $2,500, give him an operating agreement. They go get a CPA, pay him $4,000. They don't have one client yet. I believe the client drives the business, and then the clients force you to evolve, right? So you can be a sole proprietor and still pay your taxes. You're not going to have the legal protection, but tax-wise, it's no different than being a single-member LLC, because they're still doing it as a what they call what do they call it? I forgot the term. When you're a single-member LLC, it's like a pass-through entity, meaning that your taxes go down to your K-1,
right,
basically. So if you decide to do the whole LLC thing and you don't even have the business there and you don't have the structure in place, you're basically building a castle with nothing to put into it. So what I typically tell my clients when I do business transactions is first test the idea, test the marketing, understand the structure, and then once you understand the structure, it's based on what you want. The way that the taxes are set up is there's pros and cons to every entity. No entity fits everybody, right? So depending on what type of business you're in, one entity may make more sense than another. So if you see somebody that chooses to be a C Corp, which is going to be taxed twice, I remember the word is disregarded entity. So that means if you're a single member LLC and you don't elect to be treated as an S Corp, they do it based on your social security number, not your EIN number, right? Disregarded. So if you're thinking of going big, the reason the C Corp makes sense is it protects all investors. You don't have to be a worker and an employee in there to also be an investor. The investors are protected by the board of directors, and everyone's a shareholder. So you'll see the biggest companies are C Corps because they're publicly traded. So when you're publicly traded, your books are open to SEC, it's open to the public. If you're a private entity, then you're going to actually decide on what type of entity is best for you based on your size. So even with an S Corp, you can be an S Corp up to a certain amount of millions where you're forced to change. So I know that the rate is about 50 million, and it's the max you can do with an S Corp. LLC, there's no real limitation, but it's based on how you want to be taxed. The thing about the LLC is it's the most flexible entity because the LLC can be anything. It could be a sole proprietor LLC, it could be a partnership LLC, it could be a C Corp LLC, it could be an S Corp LLC. So when you see more small businesses that say Inc., they tend to be S Corps. The difference between being an S Corp and an LLC is the S Corp allows you to be a shareholder of your own business, and you can separate the equity, meaning the profits the business make, from you as an employee. So you see most businesses want to do S Corp because you can declare a salary, like myself as an attorney. Even if I make $1 million, I don't want to pay payroll taxes on $1 million, right? Payroll taxes is going to be another 14% out of your bottom line. I get to look at what is comparable for other attorneys. What would an attorney at my level make? Pay myself a reasonable salary, $140,000 a year, pay all my payroll, all my expenses off that, take the remainder, $900,000, and take it as a K-1 distribution, which doesn't get taxed with the payroll tax, right? It doesn't take out the Medicare, all the other stuff. So that's what you get as an S Corp, is the ability to separate yourself from the entity, where if you're an LLC disregarded, that whole $1 million gets taxed at the highest tax rate.
So basically, it may be like, man, that was a lot. But what I wanted to expose you to is the idea that there are games or I won't say games, there are rules applied that we don't even know about. So you're getting taxed on your full 900,000 while he's not paying taxes on his 900,000. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why it's important to start investigating other avenues or other forms of expertise outside of social media so that you can grow your understanding on how to expand your brand. I want to ask you, that was really good. I want to ask you an important one. What did you learn in college from your degree that does not translate well in business?
I think college does a bad job in teaching soft skills, people skills. If you look at the highest paid industries, it tends to be sales and marketing. Those are the individuals that make the most money because they understand people from a psychological standpoint. They understand the market, they're persuasive. These are skills that if you are not an attorney, which we're taught to be persuasive, if you're an engineer, you never went into a course that said, let us teach you how to sell a business plan. And at the end of the day, we all are salesmen, whether you want to be or not. You're selling yourself. I always tell people, look at everyone that you speak to as a potential interview for your future position that you don't even know that it could be, right? When you and I met, we were literally interviewing each other, whether or not we knew it. Is this a guy that I want in my network? Is this somebody that I want to do business with? So school gives you those technical, educational things, but that's the floor. You didn't have to develop yourself as a person, a thinker, be empathetic, be sympathetic. I need some water. But also those soft skills are the things that's going to take you to the next level. So in college, you'll have the book smarts, but in business, you need the street smarts, right? And that's why I like to go back and talk to the youth because we've mastered the street smarts in the streets, but we don't have the skills. So we have the ability to persuade, sell, and do all these things, but when it's time to have substance, we don't have that. And then the people with the substance can't sell. So if you look at any real corporation, that's why there's departments. There's the marketing department, there's operations, there's finance, there's IT, because those work all together in the same direction to move the mission statement, right? And everybody has their strength within those departments. So with that being the case, I say one of the biggest things is how to be a real person to connect with people, how to bring value to every relationship. They don't teach you that in calculus. 1 + 1, in our world, 1 + 1 = 4. I don't want 1 + 1 to equal 2 because that means what you brought to the table and what I brought to the table only created the one thing that we already had. When we joint venture, we should be going 10x together. Because otherwise, if it's 1 + 1 = 2, I just took half of yours, you took half of mine.
Right.
The goal is to create 4 because now we just doubled what we had by working together.
So talk about some people skills that people need to develop deeper, wider relationships.
One of the biggest things, I was actually in a dinner meeting the other day, and people take it lightly, but the ability to listen. And we have so many things in our minds that we want to say and so many things that we want to get across that we're not really engaged and present in that conversation. So for instance, I have a million things going on, but I'm on this stage at this moment. This is the most important thing in my life. Absent my wife calling me and saying she needs me to come home, something's going on with the kids, right? We're not even present where we are. So how do you get the most out of where you are? Because you're living in the future, which is a fiction. You never know if you're going to get there.
Right.
You're living in the past, which you can't change. You just have to be present. So for me, these are things that you don't learn in school because school is a rubric. They have to get through a curriculum.
Yep.
They have to give you general education that everyone can be tested on. So what I always say is you have to educate yourself. You know, the word educate is to pull out a self. A lot of people don't understand that. You have the ability to continue to learn. I'm learning every day. Every time I join a new business, I go in there like a child that's 2 years old. I ask all the dumbest questions because I want to be clear and accurate in the way that I'm thinking about it. So they don't tell you that in the school. You know, we still deal with ego. We want to be the smartest. We want to be the hottest. You got to come at it in a humble mind with the ability to be present, with the ability to listen, because that's how you're going to get the most out of every interaction.
Okay. Wonderful. Now, we're not saying school is not important because you can't be a nurse without school. You can't be an attorney without school. But to grow beyond what the paper that's on your wall is, you're going to need these soft skills. Talk about minority businesses oftentimes miss out on networks. Because our network is, I got my friend. Most people have never heard of any of the country clubs. Can you help?
Oh, sorry.
That's my iPad.
I'm sorry. I don't have corona.
Can you help put into perspective how these country clubs help? Because some of these minorities can get into these clubs, and the sheer fact they're a minority may open up the door for them to present their likability. But because they don't know about them, how do they grow? Tell them about these clubs, tell them how they could get into these clubs, and then tell them how to behave when they're in these clubs.
Oh, man. See, I'm a very street-oriented person. And I like to say that the floor reflects the ceiling. So all the problems you guys see in the streets are the same problems in corporate America. The cliques, the politics. In the streets, we call them gangs. If you're in a neighborhood, you want to be part of a gang because you want to make sure that you're protected. In the business world, they call them trade organizations because you want to be protected, you want proprietary information, you want relationships. None of these things change, right? So when you're a socially intelligent person, you understand, just like when you went to college, I was the coolest guy in my neighborhood. But when I went to college, the frats, they didn't care what gang they didn't care if you're Zoe in college. Are you Sigma or Omega was the question. Do you play football or basketball was the question, right? So I dealt with that frustration of being on the outside, where I had clout in the streets. I come into an environment where I'm the weakest person because I don't have relationships, right? So this is the world. This is the way the world works. You can say even within religious organizations, networking is everything.
Absolutely.
Right? So I'll give you guys a real story. When I was my third year of law school, I was wondering, my grades were good. I'm wondering why I'm getting passed up for internships. I decided when I went to law school, I was going to keep it real. I decided, okay, I can take my gold teeth out. I'm not going to take out my earrings. I had a big, long chain. I'm not taking off my chain. Every time they used to make me stand up and say a brief, my chain used to hit the desk. Cling, 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 cling. One of my teachers used to call me Young Jeezy. She said, okay, Young Jeezy, what do you want to talk about, right? Because when I went to law school, I'm thinking about my boys in my neighborhood. I'm going to be an entertainment lawyer. I'm going to start a label. I'm the next Puff Daddy. Yeah. Right? I owned a studio at the time. And that's what I tell the youth now. You have to unchain yourself to your environment to grow. Your environment will not grow with you. And when you outgrow that environment, you have no choice but to go to a better environment. We all deal with the guilt of feeling like you're leaving people behind. But you were born in this world by yourself. You're going to die by yourself. You don't leave no one behind. They either are doing what they need to do. They left themselves behind. Now, that's not to say that you don't go back and help, because that's what we're supposed to do. I'm here today because of an attorney that inspired me. But I can only inspire and motivate. I can't do the work for you.
Right.
And we all have the trial and tribulations that we've been through.
Right.
White, black, green otherwise. We all have a sad story. So for me, it was the ability to see my 3L year. I looked at who was getting the internships and who wasn't. It was the people that went to law school with relationships versus the people that went to law school that thought the degree was going to save them. So I decided, you guys are just here to get a degree. These guys have relationships. I'm going to hang out with the relationships. And I got an opportunity to do an internship with the Chief Judge, Frederick Lawton, which was the first time a FAMU student clerked under. I did a lot of breakthrough things at FAMU, right? And that was just because I thought outside the box. A lot of things at FAMU, the mindset was, you know, we don't have opportunities out there, you know, but it's not true. You got to seek. Because when you seek it, it's crazy how these things show themselves. Just like if you ever start looking at a car you want to buy, right? You start looking at that Benz, you see Benzes everywhere now. Everywhere. But before you look for the Benz, you didn't even see a Benz.
Yep.
Because the mind, the way it works is it pinpoints on what you focus. So for myself, working with Judge Lawton and seeing that everything is relationship. Everybody's in the country club. Everyone's in the trade organization. Even the neighborhood you live in. They said the best thing you can do in America is the neighborhood you put your children in. That's your fastest way to wealth, right? So in seeing those things, I opened my eyes up, and then also understanding that you bring value to the relationships. Don't feel like I'm going to put myself somewhere I'm an outsider. There's a reason why you're there. You're qualified until you prove otherwise. So knowing how to carry yourself in those environments, and Pastor Jacques, you know, we got a lot of organizations, Citrus Club, University Club. Like right now, I just joined the Entrepreneurs Organization Club, which they only have a chapter in Tampa and Miami, and you have to be a millionaire to get in that group. But the round table that we sit at, we talk about the same issues that normal, and I tell people this all the time, people are like rich people don't have problems. They have the same problems. They just have the resources to deal with them.
That's so good.
Right? They still have the children that don't listen. They still have the spouse that said they don't get enough time. It's all the same issues, but they have the resources to say, I'm going to put my child in this program.
Right.
I'm going to go to therapy with my wife. Right? When you hear $400 an hour for therapy,
you're like, oh.
You say, no, we can handle this on our own. Right? So that's all money is. Money is a maximizer and an accelerator. It makes you greater of who you are. If you're a bad person, you're just a bigger, richer bad person.
Right.
It doesn't change you, your character. If you were moving slow, I'd rather waste $10,000 than to waste 1 hour. I want to get to the result quick to know if it's going to work or not. So the more money I have, and that's what people don't understand, these tech companies, they go 10 years not making a dollar. Uber didn't make any money before they were evaluated at billions. They call it a J curve. You invest, and then one day, boom, you're out of there. So if you have that mindset that you have to sow these seeds, you have to get in the right organizations, you have to get in the right relationships, you're always going to move in the right direction that you need to.
So you talk about University Club, Citrus Club. Some people have never even heard of those clubs.
Correct.
Right? So how do they, once they're in these clubs, they find out about them? What do they do when they're in there?
So Citrus Club, and then the first thing is every organization is a little different. Some are going to be trade, like realtors have their own attorneys. We have our own associations, accountants. So that's a trade organization. Some are going to be social, country clubs. You know, Citrus Club is like a social/business. So Citrus Club doesn't really have a barrier to entry. University Club's different.
Right.
University Club are seasoned entrepreneurs where two people have to vouch for you before you can get in. So they're more so.
Okay, let me pause. How many have never heard of the University Club? Right? Most of our people have no idea. So they don't even have a desire to get to a place because they don't even know it exists. So now that they're like, wow, okay, Citrus Club, I need to figure out University Club. I need to figure out the London, was it the London House?
Yeah, the London House.
That's a lot of money.
London House, $25,000 a year, my friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, to be a part of the club.
Yeah.
But talk about what the clubs get you.
What
Because
they get
people
you
see
is
the dollar amount. The club costs me $200 a month. Oh my God, that's way too much money. But talk about what it gets you.
it's access.
There you go.
Matter of fact, if you guys are on Clubhouse, I would tell you guys to get on Clubhouse, which is one app I joined quickly, because you guys got to understand, I'm like the leader of my circle. And when you're just like you, Pastor, when you're a leader, you need other leaders that you can talk to. Like they say, T.D. Jake said this, it's hard for the turtle to understand what the giraffe sees. Right? When the turtle sees grass and say we can't go that way, the giraffe says, what grass?
Yeah.
Right? So you're at the height of your vision. So when you get in these circles and they're talking about things, you're paying for access.
Yeah.
And it's very important because these circles don't want to deal with people that don't get it, right? When you get to a certain level, they expect that you've been trained, you have certain type of understanding that it's very easy for them to be able to speak with you and you guys can get things done. There's a difference between two millionaires coming together and saying, let's do a project, and in a week it's already running, versus two startups saying, let's do a project. Neither person knows where they're going, right? And when I say millionaire, I always tell people, you have to be a millionaire before you become a millionaire. Just like you have to have the greatness in you before you become great. What the world sees is already in you. You just develop it for the world to see it. So the reason you become a millionaire is because you did millionaire strategies and millionaire things to acquire that. It wasn't given to you.
Right.
So it's the same thing with these organizations. They want to keep a certain level of people and opportunities in there. That's why you should seek to give value to every relationship. So access is, if you could pay for access, pay for it.
Because access is the difference between them saying, hey, your case is dismissed.
Correct.
Versus you're going to face 20 years in prison. Not saying that if you murder
I'll give
somebody.
you guys another real life story.
Yeah.
Young Skinner Lewis. I decided I used to carry my gun with me in law school.
Perfect story.
I went to court one day. I didn't know you couldn't have a gun with you in court. A young law student didn't know that. Look at him. Now, mind you, lawyers come in there all the time with their guns by mistake. They tell the lawyer, sir, put the gun up, go put it back in your car. But a young black intern, I come in there, I have a gun in my suitcase, and they shut down the whole courthouse. They turned this thing to like 9/11. I'm looking like, first of all, they say, whose bag is this? I'm all, that's my bag. The black security guard, they looking at me like, don't say that's your bag. They're like, arrest him. Now, let me tell you how these things work. I work for the chief judge. I get in there, I go up there, he's like, Skinner, don't worry about it. Call this attorney. I call this attorney, I'm not gonna say his name. He's like, I go see that attorney is like, no, see, the judge didn't do nothing wrong. This is another thing, guys. Do not abuse your position.
Right.
That's how they take us out. We go too far. He took himself out of it and said, call this attorney. The attorney did what the lawyer's supposed to do. The lawyers looked at the case. He says, I just got to make one phone call. Don't worry about this. I wrote a little apologetic letter. I sent him my resume, all that stuff. The cops charged me. The prosecutors never filed it. Reason being, the attorney got involved before the prosecutors would even charge. That's another thing that we don't understand about access. There's a lot of things that happen in the criminal world that you could have stopped by talking to the prosecutor before they made the decision to charge, right? But we think, let it happen, we're going to defend ourselves. Right. That's not the right way to do it. If we can make it where I don't even have to defend myself. Yeah. So these are real life things where, in my mind, if it wasn't for my relationships, I would have just said my life's over. I'm never going to take the bar. I'm done.
But I want to bring it in because some people say, well, man, I ain't got them type of relationships. I guess I'm through. The point is that you have to build relationships with people that are not like you that don't maybe share some of the same things you want to share, but they have the access that you need to go where you need to go. So I'm a member of this club now. I went to this forum at this TKC church, and I've started to look at these clubs, and I decided I'm going to get into a simple club that's in my economic range. What do I do when I get there? I'm a small business owner. I don't even know who's there.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's there? What do I do to sell myself so that I can grow my access?
What's very important is bring value. And everyone, I don't care if you're at the lowest level, right? Me, as a small intern, I brought value to my judge, right? By making sure that I did the work the way he wanted me to, and I went above and beyond. If you don't have skills, you bring work, sweat equity, right? You come in there, you say, whatever you need me to do, I'll do. You don't go in these clubs with your big Chalabert suit and your big wig, you got $2 in your pocket, you're sitting up there like, drinking water. You came in there for the wrong reason. It's called power networking.
Power networking.
If you don't bring value, then you devalue. And you got to understand what that means. People that don't have time look for value in everything.
Yeah.
So even if they're talking to you as an intern, they know me talking to this kid, he's a little hipper than me. He knows social media, he knows technology. He may say something that'll spark an idea in my mind. That's what these clubs are for. Everyone's trying to spark ideas. So if you come into it and you're just taking, how do I do this? Okay, how do I do that? And you don't say, you've given me all these things, what can I do for you?
Big question. John Maxwell says it all the time. He says, how can I add value to you? His whole company is built on that phrase. How can I add value to you? That's an important piece that I think a lot of times we miss because we feel like, man, I'm so far at the bottom. I need all the things I can get, that we stop adding value back. And that's a very important question that I think you should write down. I know it may have not seemed deep or profound, but it is very profound. Man, thank you, man, woman, sir, madam, for all the information you give me today. How can I add value to you? That's a powerful question that makes someone say, you know what? If I'm going to invest, I want to invest more in them.
Correct.
Cool.
So I think when you take that approach, because every relationship that I bring in, my thought process is, if I don't make you better, leave me. That puts the onus on me. That means I have to understand who you are as a person. If it's a business transaction, I need to understand the business. I come in bringing value from day one. I don't say I know everything, but I'm willing to put in my best efforts. I'm willing to learn. So that's the mindset. It's having the mindset of abundance and not scarcity. Right? We go in, I gotta guard this information. The truth is, at the top, they share information every day. At the bottom, you're thinking, I don't want this person to come up on me. At the top, they're saying, I need to talk to as many people as possible to make sure I have the most information before I make this decision. Two different approaches, right? All the people you see get in trouble are the people trying to do things in cachet. They don't want nobody to know what's going on. So, I'm just going to make this decision on my own, where if they only spoke to one person, they would have gotten feedback and went about it in an entirely different way. So remember, information changes your situation. Keep that in your mind.
Talking to the person that has a business plan, they got a business. It may be a hobby right now. They make a little bit of money. What's the next step? I got my bank account, got a couple customers.
Yeah.
How do I grow my brand? How do I grow my network to increase my net worth? Where do I go?
Number one, I hate business plans. Because you can't plan for everything, right? I've seen people have a 100-page business plan. I like action plans, right?
Talk about that.
Action plan for me, that's different than a business plan. A business plan is ideas, you put together a leadership team, I think this is, all of that is still hope. Right. It doesn't prove nothing to me. An action plan means I did this, I saw this result. I did this, I saw this result. Okay, I sell water. I realized that when I put the yellow label on it, I didn't sell any.
Right.
When I put the blue label on it, I sold 2. We're going with the blue label. Now my price is $2. When I went to $160, I sold 10 more. You start getting action oriented versus saying in your business plan, we're going to buy 1,000 yellow label bottles and we're just going to go into the market with it. We see that water is selling. Since you're making money, we're going to make money. That's the worst business plan I hear when people say, I'm going to sell dog food. I say, why? Because everyone has a dog. Okay. It doesn't work that way, right? You got to have a unique positioning. You got to have something that's special. So when I say an action plan, I'd rather see a proof of concept, a model, something that you've done, because you can't ask me to invest and you haven't invested. I'm not going to invest in a piece of paper. I'm investing in a person. So as much as your business plan can help you understand the market, your action plan gets you to work in the market. And you should be tracking your results. You should be tracking your iterations. I will pay for that. Because you just saved me time. If your business fell, I will buy why it fell so I don't do it.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
So that's a different way of thinking of, don't get caught up in the work, in the graphs, in the pretty, and the leadership team. Get in the work. The same thing we say in church. The work will tell you all that you need to know. Everything else is an idea. It's a fiction of your imagination. The work will show you clarity. So I always say action brings clarity. I like to see people that have done something that can actually give a response for that result. Once you've proven that model, now the second question is this scalable? That's where we all run into trouble. Okay, I want to open a tax office. I'm the greatest tax preparer. If I can't build a team of tax preparers under me, I'm self-employed. I employed myself. And there's different levels. Either you work for someone, either you work for yourself, or you make it to the point where you make so much money, you hire other people. Then when you hire other people, you make so much money that your own business can't take your own money, you become an investor. I don't invest like me. I put all my, when people tell me real estate, I say, no, I'm not done with my business yet.
Yeah.
Real estate don't make sense for me where I am based on, I haven't saturated my market yet. I'm not dominating my market yet, right? Until I put all my money here and I don't have no more money to put here, then I invest into something else. That's a different mindset. You'll see people that invest in 10 businesses, except their own. Their business is failing, and what that means is you're keeping yourself busy because you doubt the one thing. But if you focus on the one thing, win or lose, when that business fails, you save yourself time doing it again. But when you do 10 businesses, all of them are failing, but none of them have failed yet, so you think all of them are okay.
That's good.
So you never move on, you never really progress. So I think the action is what's going to bring the clarity. Bank account, LLCs, make all the mistakes. Get sued, I don't care. Everybody's scared of getting sued. Those are all things that you go through and you learn. It makes you tougher. Go into business with family and see a family member that it would be better for me to pay my mom than to have my mom come in my firm and tell my people, I'm his mom, I'm going to do what I want. Right? I'd rather say, Mom, you're retired, I will cut you a check, you're an admin assistant now.
Yeah.
Right? Those are things where it's natural for us because we want everyone to win. But it's the right people in the right seat analysis that you have to do.
Right people, right seat analysis.
Correct. And I can go a little deeper on that. The right people, right seat is the analysis of, is the person, do they share the same core values as you? That's the right person you want around you. But you might have someone that shares the right core value, but you put them in the wrong seat.
Yeah.
Just because me and you think the same, Pastor, I can't make you become my accountant.
Right.
I can't say, well, me and Pastor, we get along so much. And then I call you, I say, man, where's my P&L? You say, P&L.
Like what?
I don't do P&Ls. So what happens is because you don't expand your network, you go first to who's closest to you.
So good.
But when you expand your network, you go to who's qualified for you.
as a minority community, we oftentimes do business based on who we can trust. Trust is such a big, when I started our church, it was hiring based on who I can trust.
Yeah.
And then I realized that's good, but I need to adjust because who you trust is also limited on what they know.
Correct.
So can you talk about expanding networks?
So I do, so I'm also in another group called EOS Worldwide, Entrepreneur Operating System Worldwide. So this is another thing, guys. I spend a lot of money on consultation. You need to spend a lot of money. Like if you're working out, why wouldn't you get a trainer? Instead of you saying, I know how to lift the weight, why wouldn't you get someone that knows how to lift the weight so you don't spend 6 months learning how to lift the weight, right? Invest in consultation, like value information. So that's where I got the right person, right seat. These are things that are common sense to me, but when they write it down, it comes together beautifully, right? So, and EOS, there's two things. They use what's called a GWC model. Does the person get it? Does the person want it? Do they have the desire? Do they get it? Do they understand the role, the position? Do they want it? Do they have the desire to do it? And do they have the capacity? Can they grow as you grow? Right? That's very important in a partnership when you're building out your company because they might get it, right? We started together. We all know what it takes to build a church, but they don't want it.
Right.
So everyone's sitting in the church meeting and saying, why is these things not getting done? And as much as they get it, they sit in the meeting and tell you everything that needs to be done.
Right.
But when it's time to get it done, they don't do it because they don't have the desire.
Right.
Or they may have the desire, but they don't get it.
Yep.
So they show up every time to help, but they mess up everything
Yep.
because they don't know what they're doing. And then the capacity is the hardest, right? Because you started with someone, y'all got it, and y'all want it together, but now you're here and they're there. And now you're holding yourself back because of trust and loyalty.
Right.
Trust and loyalty starts at the bottom. As you grow, it becomes systems.
So good.
Right? Yeah. Systems and operations. SOPs. Because McDonald's cannot trust nobody. When McDonald's hire you, they don't say, I trust you, David.
Yes.
They say, this is how we do things. And you better trust if you don't do it, you're fired.
Right.
That's the only trust they have.
That is so good. Okay? Just to, at some point, you stop doing business because you trust people and you start doing business with people who are skilled, scalable, and capable.
Correct. And you don't need trust at that point.
No, because you have policies and procedures.
You have policies, you trust the system.
Yeah.
When you don't have a system, you need trust. Haiti doesn't have a system, you need trust. In America, they don't talk about trust.
Yeah,
they said the Constitution said this.
That's good.
And you violated. You see, all the people that rushed the Capitol, they thought they could trust because I'm white, I'm going to be all right.
Yeah.
They said, you are, but today you're un-American.
Right. Right.
You went against our policy.
Right.
And that's what policies are there for.
That was awesome. Can you talk about people when they see a millionaire, they say, man, I need to, what is the wrong thing to ask an investor? Money. I get an opportunity. Yeah, I get an opportunity to meet with Skinner.
Yeah.
He's got, or whoever, they got money. What's the three things I should not do?
Oh, man. I can tell you so many. Number one, when someone, unless you got a lotto ticket, then you didn't get a chance to grow into your money. Especially us. We come from nothing, right? For someone to acquire $1 million of assets, they had to become someone different. They have a process of thinking. They have social skills, some more than others. Yep. But they know how to work with people. The worst thing is for someone to say, I want you to invest $10 million. I'm going to keep 99%. You get 1%.
Right.
And you're saying, I'm going to risk my money on your dreams, but you don't want to give up no control. You don't want to have no oversight. Give me the money, I'm going to bring it back to you. What are we doing, right? Other things is when you turn a business relationship into a personal relationship. And that's a big problem in our community because people think access means you know the person.
That is.
And you got to know what bucket you are when you're dealing with people. Social, professional, personal. We just put it all in one bucket.
If you're in the comments, social, professional, personal.
Correct. So what that means is, if I'm doing business with you, the worst thing you can do is come to me for a personal loan. We're doing business, but you took our business relationship and now you made it personal, which is going to affect our business. Because now when I say, no, I'm not going to give you a personal loan, but we're doing business together. Your problems are not my problems, right? So when you go to an investor, you should understand your business. You should understand the bucket that you're in. Now, if you're lucky, it's an uncle, it was personal, you can mix the two.
Yeah.
But if you met this guy as an investor, I don't care how many times you play golf, know the boundaries and respect it, right? And then the third thing, because you asked for 3, is you really got to be able to show that you've invested in yourself first. How is your idea so bright and you don't believe in it? You haven't put in the time, you haven't put in the money, you haven't even built the right relationships for it. You think the investor is going to do all the things that you did not do. And no investor wants to get involved in something like that.
Before we get to Q&As, if you follow your Instagram, which is
Attorney Lewis.
There's a lot of spending that I see on that.
A lot.
Account, a lot.
I pay my taxes.
Let me. Where I'm getting to is this: a lot of times people think you're spending your own money when you may be spending money that's a write-off.
Yes. So.
And talk about how people think everything is a write-off.
Correct. If everything's a write-off, you're gonna get audited. IRS. Number 1. Number 2. So it's the idea. For me, money is a tool. Why work hard? Why separate yourself and sacrifice from your family and not enjoy the money? And then you only know what's going on in your life, right? I'm going to give you guys a secret of the rich. One rich person doesn't like clothes. So they go to Walmart, they wear Walmart shoes, they wear Walmart jeans, they wear a Walmart shirt. But they own a $400 million yacht.
Right.
When you're rich, you do what you like. It's not what they like.
Right.
So what that means is, if I like clothes, I like nice shoes, nice clothes, that's where I'm going to spend my money. Another guy might buy a plane. I don't like planes. So that's the liberty that you have. Another person might like sports. They go buy a $10,000 bike to go ride. Right? You see these bike clubs. Yep. All these. Expensive. I got a friend that plays polo. Literally, he rides a horse, he plays polo. To be in that club, he spends $100,000 a year. I'm looking at this guy, that's a car. But he does what he wants with his money. So that's number 1. Don't judge how people spend their money because you don't know what they did to get it, number 1. As far as the write-offs, me being an attorney, I have to fly places that are business related. Like right now, we're looking to open an office in Detroit. I have to fly to Detroit. It's business related. That's a business trip. When I get to Detroit, I'm going to meet with potential partners. We're going to have dinner. That's a meal, business meal. Just because I like to eat steak, it's still a business meal. Do you guys know that there's groups that do large events for millions of dollars? Think of Grant Cardone. You bring in all these people, you pay them $100,000 each. That's all a tax write-off. But do you know when they all come together what kind of relationships they're building off that? The way that the IRS looks at it is if it's business related or leads to the opportunity for business. Even if you hear what they're talking about, like opportunity zones in real estate now.
Yes.
Right? they're telling investors, come into the hood,
Buy it up.
we're gonna give you the craziest tax credits. And if you know what a tax credit is, it's not a deduction. Deduction is where the little boys play. Tax credit is where the big boys play. The government pays you to do something. So when you see these solar companies that are worth, like Elon Musk, he has a solar company, Solar City.
Yep.
The government gave him billions of dollars to do that because the government says it's in our interest as a society that we get off fossil fuel. Whoever's willing to build that business will pay you. SpaceX, a $1 billion business. The government said, NASA, don't worry about it no more. We're going to privatize it. He built SpaceX for them. The government pays him direct. So that's how you got to know how to use your money. And there's tax credits for everything, guys. There's tax credits where if you go in the community, you build, they actually give you the money to do the building.
Yeah.
Because what the government is saying is we're in the business of being the government. We're not in the business of getting things executed. We rather the private industry to come in, and if you can do it, we'll pay you to do it. So that's the difference between a write-off, and then this is what I say about write-offs. You got to be smart, right? People think, oh, everything's a tax write-off. If I made $1 million a year, right, and I see a Lamborghini, and I say, oh, I want the Lamborghini for the law firm, I'm going to wrap it and put the Lewis Law Firm, I spent $600,000 on a Lamborghini, I'm an idiot. How did that tax write-off help my business? So this is what the game that you got to understand when you hear the rich say, oh, cut taxes, we're going to hire people. No, they don't. Because I don't hire people based on the tax savings. I hire people based on the demand. I'm a business owner. If there's no demand for my product, you can tell me you're going to charge me zero tax. I'm not going to that business. It don't make sense. So for you to do write-offs just to write everything off, but it doesn't bring value to your business, that's why the government knows you don't know how to do business because you're just hurting yourself in the long run. So don't think, oh, I'm going to write off this dinner, I'm going to write off these jeans, I'm going to write off these shoes. What did it do for your business? And then the tax code is very clear. You cannot write off the Gucci. The Gucci comes out of Skinner's pocket. Because Gucci on my feet has nothing to do with my business. Now, if my shoes was Lewis Law Firm shoes that everyone at the law firm had to wear Lewis Law Firm, that's considered a uniform. That would be a tax write-off. That's how people get in trouble. They go into their business account, they spend personal things in there, and now not only do you open yourself up to legal protection leaving, you also open yourself to audits because you're living off your business. So that's
a good point.
That's how you got to kind of look at it when you think about tax write-offs. You think about other things as far as should I do it or shouldn't I do it. It has to be business related.
So I want to take some questions from the audience to Skinner and some questions online. Follow Skinner at Attorney Lewis. L-O-U-I-S.
Skinner Lewis on Facebook, Skinner Lewis on LinkedIn, Attorney Lewis on Instagram. And I think that's it. We don't do Snapchat no more. I think they don't work anymore.
Stop snapping.
Yeah.
Hey,
Clubhouse. Attorney Lewis on Clubhouse.
We want to take some Q&A. Those of you that are watching, fire your questions off. I have them on my screen. Those of you that are in the sanctuary, you can just go to the microphone, keep your mask on, and ask your question. Not all at once, people.
Oh, someone has to have a question, man.
It always takes one, and
let's
then
start
the whole
just
room
one and
floods.
starts rolling.
Oh, okay, I had to bring it down to my height.
Say your name and your business, too.
My name is Kenyatta. I'm going to be launching an online boutique, Christian-based online boutique in September. And my question is basically, how do I market myself when that area is already saturated with people? How do I make connections with other people that's in the same rim? And also, how do I go about marketing as far as online? Do I do like pop-up shops? I know they do that with COVID. It's probably not happening right now, but they used to do pop-up shops back then. But I just wanted to know like which direction I should go in regards to getting my name out there and then also making relationships, as you said earlier.
Okay, so I have some clarifying questions. When
Okay.
you say boutique, is it closed?
Yes, close.
Okay. And you say the market is saturated. So number one question every business must ask yourself, what's unique about your product?
Okay. Oh, you want to know?
It's a question that asks both ways.
Okay. So basically what's different about mine is I came up with this strategy where every person that purchases the merchandise from me gets a prayer, and they have a drop-down option to select which area of their life they're looking for prayer, such as finance, family, infertility, just all realms of things.
That's actually dope.
Also, I have come up with another thing where I'm creating affirmation jars and prayer jars that people can use on a daily basis just to uplift them and also get in a connection with God, because I see a lot of times with fashion, it's so one way or this way. If you don't dress this way, you ain't holy, or whatever the case may be. But I want it to be such a different thing where my clothes begin to touch and manifest into people's lives, and not just have something that they wear, but they also recognize who they're wearing, who they're wearing it for.
Right. So the thing about clothes is it's an expression.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't know that. For some people, it's not important. So like me, I love my shirts. That's how I express myself. So you got to make sure you know your niche.
Okay.
Right? You need to go study the marketplace and see, is there any other business similar to yours, and see what's working. In business, we don't create the wheel, we steal it. We take the wheel, we tweak it,
Okay.
we add some rims to it, a little glitter, and then Burger King, McDonald's, all the same thing.
Okay.
One grills, one fries. Come to us. Chick-fil-A, we only do chicken. It's all fast food.
Right.
So your boutique, you got to look at it, and like I tell people with business, please don't fall in love with your business.
Okay.
The business needs to fall in love with you.
Okay.
It needs to do right by you,
Right.
right? Your business, you own it. It needs to do what you direct it to do. You have to look at it as you're the one that's pouring into it. It's not your baby. It's your
Okay.
soldier. Because when it's your baby, you're going to cuddle it. You're going to nurture it. But a soldier doesn't do something. The soldier gets cut. Cut your losses. So you go into it with a mindset that you already have the end in mind.
Okay.
Think big.
Okay.
Like if you're saying I'm trying to make $10,000 a year, you're wasting your time. If you're trying to say I want to make $1 million a year, I want to have an impact, you have to reverse engineer that. You're going to go look at other businesses that are doing $1 million a year. What do they have?
Okay.
So even if you can't afford it now, you have milestones to know that you're heading in the right direction. You got to have a roadmap. And if you look at boutiques now, a lot of them are more driven by personalities and influencers. So you know your niche. You want to make sure that it's Christian-based. You can go ahead. All you need is to have a famous person like Pastor Jacques put on your clothes, give him his 10% on Sunday, and you're in business. Before you know it, the whole congregation is wearing it. That's marketing 101.
Okay.
Know your network. So before you go spend tons of dollars to go on social media or go do SEO marketing, you need to go ahead and make sure you have a proven product within your community, and then you let your community's money that you make there, you reinvest it to go outside the community.
Okay.
That's the smartest way for you to do it. Otherwise, you will spend dollars and not see them come back.
Okay.
So that would be my advice for you.
All right. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, I want us to also take a moment and what we do at our churches, of course, we live off generosity. This is an opportunity for us to be generous. We brought Skinner here out of the goodness of his time, and we want to honor his time and all that good stuff. So while you're watching, you can Cash App TKCI. If you are a parishioner here, you already know how to give, 77977 TKCI. I'll put it in the comments for you that are online. Those of you that are part of our church, you already know how to do it. You can put it on the comment section for us. I'm going to ask you to give what a meal would cost you. So if it's $29, if you eat at higher end places, it's $59. If you eat at lower end places, it may be $9.99. But I'm asking you to do something so we can be a blessing to him in the coming weeks, as we'll send him a gift for coming out and being a part with us. I have a question, so if you're doing that, thank you for doing that. And we appreciate you doing that, and we see you doing that, and it makes a difference. So thank you for helping. Thank you for just not, if you're a business owner, I think it's worth investing your currency into something that's going to be beneficial for you and to you. That makes a difference. So I'm asking you to go on Cash App if that's what you do, $TKCI. If you're texting to give, 77977, message TKCI, hit send. It'll send you a link back that'll allow you to donate. So 77977, they'll send you a link message, TKCI, hit send. It'll message you a link back so that you can give. I see all y'all 60, 70, 80 plus of you watching online, YouTube. So let's be a part of it. Most churches do not open up their doors to do this. We're going to try to consistently do this so that you can grow. My objective is to leverage my relationships, allow them to come and share, and be a blessing to you. So let's do that. I want to at least give them gas money for coming.
You're a good man.
Thank you. I'm going to take 10% out of it.
I know 10% is coming out.
No, I do want to ask this question that someone said online. They were asking about, can you bring value and network in the social/networking clubs, i.e. London House, et cetera, being a corporate leader or executive, or is it just an entrepreneurial space?
No, so I want to give you guys a concept. I know this seems like it's only business, but business is done in multiple ways. So what's called an entrepreneur is the person that has the vision, but there's also what's called intrapreneurs. And that's where the world is kind of shifting to. That means some people are better within an organization that can bring maximum value to that organization. So think about it this way. A lot of the McChicken nuggets you guys love, there was a person that worked in McDonald's that created their own little chicken nugget, and then they started selling it locally, and the rest of the stores picked up on it. That person is an intrapreneur. They were able to use what McDonald's gave them, and they created something that took McDonald's to the next level. So when you're joining these organizations, even if you're in a corporate role, you never know if you may need these relationships if you ever start your own business, number one. And number two, they may bring value to the organization that you're already part of. So, like I said, I'm part of a group called Entrepreneurs Organization. They have a division called YPO, and the YPO are for people that are in corporate businesses, executives that also network. And you know, at a high level, when you're talking about business, one executive can network with another executive. That's what LinkedIn is built on, is a bunch of executives networking together to be able to do joint ventures and bring value to each other. So it's not just for the entrepreneur, it's for anyone that seeks to bring value and then aligning that value to what you're doing.
All right, y'all, let me just break this down to you one more time. You have the opportunity to ask any question you want. It doesn't cost you anything except for the offering you gave. But I would take advantage of being able to access somebody and ask them questions. Here's another question online. What were some of the challenges you faced when you realized you had to change to get to the next level? What actionable steps did you take to make that change? What steps did you take, and what books would you recommend?
All right, so I think we all, if we're all sitting here and we're all being honest, we all have had that time where you looked in the mirror and you said, what am I doing with my life? I don't care, 60, 50, 40, 30. If you're lucky, 10 years old, you started early. But there's a change internally that happens before it's external. And what happens is when you look in the mirror and you truly say, I'm not happy with where I am, I know I can do more. When you do that, your environment naturally changes, because what you tolerate is what you keep, right? So if you say that, I know that I want to go to the next level, you're not going to tolerate the things that are in your life that's going to stop you from there. And for me, that thing was, I always just love making money in business, period, right? If you think about a lot of the kids that get in trouble in the streets, these are some of the brightest entrepreneur minds. But lack of resources and proximity to the bad things makes them put that energy in the wrong things, right? So I could have been the biggest drug dealer, or I could have been the biggest attorney. Which one has the longest shelf life? That was a critical answer that I had to give to myself. So that's something you got to question for yourself. And then when you do that, the actionable steps is looking at the people that you can emulate that are doing the things that you want to be, and still putting your twist on it, still putting your personality on it, because then you can reverse engineer and you can create a roadmap. So those actionable steps is truly understanding where you want to go after you've made that decision and you make that desire. And then after you have that desire, how do you track your progress through that? So once I decided to be an attorney, it's very simple, because you got to go to school. You got to go to school for 8 years. You got to get your degree. You got to take the bar. They got that rolled out for me. When you're an entrepreneur, it's not as easy, because what worked for one person may not work for you. So when you decide to be an entrepreneur, you have said that I'm willing to take the most risks on the planet. I'm going to figure this out, whether I have to go work under somebody, whether I have to go do it on my own, no excuses. I'm going to figure it out. That's a little bit different than joining a program or a curriculum, and that's the difference in knowing which version of that person really helps you be your best self. And when it comes to books, one of my favorite books is always The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill. To me, that book lays out what every other book comes from. So that would be my advice as far as actionable steps. See someone that's doing what you're already doing, reverse engineer it, and add your twist to it.
Sweet. Your name and your business and your question.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Ashley Wright. I'm
Hello.
an attorney as well, and
Hello.
I'm also a pageant coach. So hello. So my question is, what do you do if you sort of have the social skills, you have sort of the network, but what if you don't actually have, I think what I lack is sort of the educational tools about business itself, because I went to law school, yes, to learn how to be an attorney, not to be an entrepreneur, so I'm sort of trying to learn as I go. But what educational tools or books would you recommend to sort of learn about business?
Oh, I left a book out. One of the greatest books is called E-Myth Revisited. I think it's Michael Gerber. So that book tells you, you're an attorney, I'm an attorney. We're technicians. We're not business people.
Right.
They train us to be technical. The book tells you to know who you are, because in business, you're going to have the difference between the actual owner and the technician.
Okay.
The problem that we have is we end up being a technician that owns a business.
Right. Exactly.
So if you look at medical practices, you'll notice that a lot of the doctors don't handle the business side. They have no choice but to partner with someone that can grow the practice, because they're focused on being a doctor. They can't focus on growing the business. Me, I just happen to have a duality in my mind that I'm business first, and then I'm an attorney second.
Okay.
If I was attorney first, I would need to go work for a firm, because that's where I would make the best impact. So it's really being honest with yourself. Where you're weak, do not try to build your weakness. Partner on your weaknesses and continue building on your strengths.
Okay.
Because that's what's going to be natural. For me, business is automatic. You can tell me an idea. In my mind, I can already put it together how it's going to work, because I already break everything down to marketing, sales, operation, who's going to integrate it, who's your management team. My brain's already there.
Right.
Where for you, someone might bring an idea, and they say, let's do an ice cream truck. You say, let's do it. For me, that's not the highest and best use, right? I think ice cream truck, who's going to manage it? You're dealing with cash. Someone's going to steal the money. I think of all the things that you may have never seen. You're looking at the ice cream, I'm looking at the cash drawer.
Right.
It's just because of my experience in business. So for yourself, when you're thinking about doing a business, you got to be very honest. Can you really become a business person, or should you be partnering with a business person?
Okay.
Right?
That's good.
My firm, I'm out there every day. This guy sees me on Instagram. That's my job. I have to be out there in front of the people to bring in the cases. There's no way I can go to court. There's no way I can work the case at the same time.
Right.
I tell that to every young attorney. You need to decide, are you going to be a rainmaker, or are you going to be the greatest lawyer in court? Both of those are very noble. But the greatest lawyer in court is not getting those cases without the rainmaker.
That's true.
Right? If you're in court, who's picking up the phone when the client calls? So you just got to really be honest on where your skills are strong, where you need to partner, and you got to also understand you cannot do it by yourself.
Awesome.
If you're talking business, if you're talking self-employed, then you can employ yourself, and then you get maxed out, you get stressed out. But if you're talking business, you got to be honest, because one of the biggest business problems is undercapitalization. What that means is it's not that your idea wasn't good enough, you didn't put enough resources into it.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
You didn't put enough money, people, time into it. So you got to be very serious if you're going to start a business. You're not doing it based on necessity. You're doing it based on the opportunity that you see, and that you're willing to put in the right things in place to make sure it's successful.
Awesome. Thank you.
And so I would say Michael Gerber's book is great.
Okay.
There's another book, Good to Great. Good to Great is a good book because it tells you how a lot of mediocre businesses became great businesses and what it takes. And you have to be growth-minded if you're talking business. You have to be selfless. People don't understand, I'm the boss, but I work for everybody. I have 20 employees now. I have to talk to all of them. Their problems are my problems, right? I gotta, that's what you say. When you're a leader, you serve first. Right? If my employees are not growing, there's no way my firm is growing. The best thing I can hear is one of my employees say, I just bought a house. That means I'm paying you enough. I did a good job. Right?
Awesome.
I can't nickel and dime them and then want my business to grow. These are intangible things that you understand. In the business world, when you take from somebody, you're really taking from yourself because you're connected. So you got to give the best of yourself to get the best of someone else. So when I say partner, everybody thinks I'm losing 50%. But you're gaining. That's why I say 1 + 1 has to equal 4. The 50% that you lose, you should be gaining 100% in opportunity. And if you think like that, then it's more about, I'd rather 10% of $1 million pie than 100% of a $1,000 pie. And that's how you start operating.
That's
Your
good.
team is everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Young lady right there. Name, business, and question.
Hi, my name is Derby. My business is Essential Escapes Massage and Bodywork. So earlier in the conversation, you stated that we shouldn't be living off our business. Well, I'm in business so that I can live, so I can prosper and not have to
Say that
work.
again so I can hear you clearly.
So earlier in the conversation, you stated that we shouldn't live off our business. Is that what I understood? Or
No, but continue.
right. So my
clarify
question
it.
is, if I'm in business basically to have the things that I want or want to support my family, how does, like I'm not understanding that statement. Like we shouldn't be living off our business. What does that mean?
When I was talking to the young lady, I was saying you shouldn't be in love.
No. Prior to that.
So living off your business?
Right. You stated that we shouldn't be living off of our business.
I think that's when we were talking about the separation of tax write-offs.
Okay.
If we're talking about the same thing, what I'm saying is, from a legal standpoint, you shouldn't be doing personal things off your business. From a technical aspect, that your business does massages,
Right.
and then you went to Gucci and you bought some Gucci shoes out of your business.
Well, I could, say Gucci has a better quality of leather. And
That would be good. IRS.
I'm a therapist, and I'm a therapist, and my feet, But
that would be great, but the IRS, what you want to do is not wrong. What the government is trying to make you not do is take a business deduction, which you don't get taxed on, for personal benefit.
Okay.
That's what they're trying. They don't want you to go ahead and say, my business I made $1 million this year, I'm only paying $10,000 in taxes, because everything I did was for business.
Okay.
So it's about your taxable income. They want you to pay yourself a salary. You take your salary, you go buy all the Gucci you want. They don't want you to take your business and go buy Gucci, because you can't show how that's related to your business practices. How does Gucci versus you going to Walmart for cheaper shoes bring value to your business? That's a personal decision. So you should pay it out of your personal taxes, not pay it out of your business. Now, if you want to get the nicest leather and nicest uniform for Med Spa, they're not going to stop you. You decided to pay a premium because you want everyone to wear silk uniform. Cool. But there's a level where they believe that at some point, if you cannot show it's business related and it's more about a personal gain, they're going to tax you that as income. Okay. It's an IRS thing. It's not really how you feel about the type of issue.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Roosevelt Augustin, full-time realtor and investor. So I wanted to know, when it comes to like once you want to diversifying your businesses, and for example, like when it comes to multifamilies, in terms of the holdings and the bracket of it, how should you kind of like map out the business? Should you have, I know some people said, you should have different LLCs, and put like, for example, like 5 property under one LLC. How should you like try to like diversify it and then break it down in terms of having that holding and then all the different businesses under it?
That's a great question. So it depends what type of business you're in. So if you're doing something like technology, you're going to structure your holding company different than me that's doing a law firm, right? A technology company, people think that it's the product that makes them the money. That's not what makes Apple its money. It's the intellectual property, the patents, the copyrights, the trademarks, the things that they put their mind into that if anybody else does it, they can sue you for it. Even if they're not doing it, that's future earning potential. So I don't know if you guys saw when Samsung and Apple had this big fight because Samsung was saying that Apple stole their operating agreement because they had the patent. You're talking about billions of dollars. So Apple is going to create a separate LLC and put all the intellectual property in there, and they won't allow that company to engage in business because they don't want to put those assets at risk, right? So when you go into the Apple store and you slip and you think you're going to sue them and you're going to attack their intellectual property, you never. That store you went to could be its own separate Apple LLC Millennium Mall store. That's the name of that LLC. All the risks stay in that entity itself. So before people get very complicated, because I deal with holding companies and all that, you got to make sure, don't go build a $25,000 structure for you to sell mangoes on the side of the street, right? It got to make sense. Always look at your business. Now, like you're saying real estate, you'll see I have a realtor that I've dealt with that he has 300 LLCs because he creates an LLC for every transaction. So if this business deal goes bad, it's insulated here. You can't go attack all my other assets, which goes back to what the young lady was asking. When she bought that Gucci through her business, she just lost her legal protection because that's personal use for her business. That's why you have legal protection. You have to show that you follow your bylaws, you're doing your minutes, you're doing business practices. The moment you don't do that, they call it an alter ego. Your business is really you. That means you're driving your car, you get in a car accident, they go after your business. Same thing as a single member LLC, you got to understand the laws. If you're a single member LLC, you're the only owners of those shares. There's no one else. They treat those shares as your personal property. You get in a car accident, once again, they can attack your personal assets. So if you're doing asset protection, typically you want to do what's called a partnership LLC, multi-member, because they consider that as a pooled asset and they can't separate who benefits or not. They have to wait until the distribution touch you as a person before they can touch that asset. So that's how you kind of guard your assets, and it's really going to be based on what type of business you are, the way that you do that.
Burbino Lahens, owner of Penny with a Twist, Orlando. Attorney Skinner, I have 2 questions for you. The first one is, as far as from your experience, like what is the biggest mistake most business owners make, whether it's personal or from clients? The second question I have is, like I'm a member of Chamber of Commerce and all these different things. So for you, what is a good timeline, whether it's monetary as far as you get into a certain level money-wise, as far as there are levels to access. So what was a good timeline for you, or your personal timeline from where you started to where you are today?
So for the first question, I forgot the first question.
The
Biggest mistake. Okay, biggest mistake. Oh, there's so many. There's so many mistakes, y'all, because even, can you believe it, growing too fast? You know how everybody wants to grow? But what you don't understand is if you have a small problem and you grow it fast, you have a big problem, right? If you have bad processes, bad people, bad product, and all you did was get more money and did that times 10, you just did bad times 10. So even scaling your business, most people want to get into it and say, oh, I want to get to $1 million. When you should have spent the time working out all the kinks at $10,000 before you scaled it. I know a lot of people that get in trouble with the law because when you're a small business, no one's looking. No one's checking. But then you take that small problem that you were doing and now you got 10 franchises, you're a major concern. So it's really making sure that you're doing things right. It's what they call the one thing. How you do one thing, you do everything, right? So if you're sloppy in one place, you're probably sloppy in somewhere else. So it's really being meticulous, taking the time to develop the right processes, the right team, so you're not focused on the growth where all you're really doing is getting to your demise quicker. So that's a big mistake that I see with a lot of people. They're so focused on growth, they're not focused on being the right size, doing the right things so that growth can continue. The other biggest thing is doing business with friends. If you want to lose a friend, do business with them.
That's so good.
Because here's what happens. When you want to talk business, they want to talk friendship. And how the business world works is it's all negotiable. But when it's a friend, they want a favor. We're friends. I'm selling my car. It's worth $10,000, but because it's friends, I'll give it to me for $9,000. That's not how business is done. Or we're friends. I confided in you and how I get a deal. You use my information that I gave you to negotiate against me, right? So let's talk about independent contractors. If I tell you, the young lady's talking about a boutique. She says, I'm going to tell you who my supplier is. I'm getting the shirts for $5. Because I confided you in that, now we're doing a deal. I tell you I'm going to sell it to you for $10. You say, but you got it for $5. You use private information that I gave you against me. So as much as we get excited with friends, you got to think that you got to guard the information because now you're a business person. And that's the difference when I say share information, not proprietary, right? If it's something unique that gives you a competitive edge, you need to be guarded with it like it's your life, because that can destroy your business when everybody else can do it. Because now you don't have a business and anyone can compete with you. But when it's friends, we get lax and we take off that business hat, and then it comes back to bite you. So I would say that's the other biggest mistake, because friendship, when you cannot get what you want, it turns into you're not being a good friend versus you're not doing good business. And those are two separate things.
So good.
And then your second question was what organizations and things like that to join, right? So typically what I would say, like the chambers of commerce, like right now I'm on the board of the African American Chamber of Commerce. I'm more in my phase of giving back. When I started, I joined every organization. It was an investment. If I have a fund, you guys got to start thinking like investors. You need to create funds for different things. I have a dinner fund. I have a friend in town fund. I have a, let me just join this organization. If I get something from it, I do, I don't. Stop looking at everything you need a direct return, right? I'm part of the J. Abraham group. You had to pay $15,000 for his consultation, right? I said, man, if anybody else in this room pays $15,000, I already know I'm dealing with people that's willing to invest in themselves. One of the biggest business relationships I have right now was from that organization. Because my mindset was I want to be around people that want to invest because they already see the value. Versus when you pay for that $100 organization, you're wondering why you're not getting no value out of it. Because you haven't put enough That organization is looking at it as, let us tell you how to do these simple business things, but if they're not pouring back into you, you're not getting anything out of it. So cut your losses. Say, I've been in this organization for 3 months. I haven't made no relationships. It's not helping my business. I'm busy, but I'm not productive. And that's how you have to weigh it. And don't feel guilty about it. You can't do all these things. Once you find the right organizations for you, you bring that value immediately and you grow into your next level. So there's no right or wrong, meaning that you might feel like you're not getting something from the chamber. You make David go in there, he kills it, based on the industry that he's in. You really gotta, and I mean this, guys, when you talk about business, the one time you're selfish is in business. And you're selfish for the reason being that it has to make sense. You have to be selfish with your time and the value that you give because you're not getting that time back. So if you look at it that way, that I want to make sure I'm in an organization that I can give value and I'm going to get value, that reciprocity is going to help you grow. So you really got to just track all of that and be fair and honest with yourself. If it's not working, look to go somewhere else. That is going to help you develop.
Quick online question, and then we'll go to Tay. You spoke about action plans when you talk about presenting a layout of your wins and losses, revisions as business. Is there a particular timeline you recommend to collect that information for a small business such as private chefing before you approach an investor?
Yes. So for me, you have to know your numbers. And I know that sounds light.
No, it's true.
You don't know your numbers, no investor wants to talk to you. That's the first question I ask somebody. Do you know your numbers? Yes. How much you sell your things for? $10. What's your profit margin? Okay, what's your contract? What is the price you're getting it for? What's your deal with your supplier? All these things matter because it affects your business. So when they say timeline, when you get a result, the result should give you numbers. When you have numbers, that's what you scale. Until you have numbers, you only have an idea. So the question is a personal one, is how long does it take to get to your numbers? If we talk about Facebook, they did everything free. They didn't charge nobody because it wasn't about numbers. It was about users. We're going to get 4 billion people in here, and then we'll figure out what we're going to sell. What did they do? They didn't charge us to go on Facebook. They charge businesses for us to see them on Facebook. And they making billions. They always knew what their end strategy was. Now, if their strategy was we're going to charge subscription, they would have said, we're going to charge you to be able to come on Facebook. We know our numbers, let's scale this. That doesn't mean that it's the best business in the long run. So you got to be able to know what your long-term plan is. So with him being in the chef business, what are your numbers per plate? What are the different things that you're providing? Are you doing private chef meals? You're one chef. How many of those can you do in a day, right? Anytime you sell your time, it's limited. So I'm very careful in businesses where time is necessary. I prefer products, services, and results because the time is not the thing that controls it. So if you're a chef, the only way you make more money doing private chefing is you got to get another chef under you that people trust the brand now. And you got to develop the brand. So you got to think about what is the end game for you. If you look at Gordon Ramsay, it wasn't that he went and did private chefing for 500. He got a TV show, which is syndication. He doesn't make his money off one meal. He makes his money by going to Fox, who gets paid by advertisers, so he makes $10 million as a chef, as opposed to you, there's no way you're gonna get to 10 million. How many meals can you cook?
Right.
So it's about leveraging your skills and knowing what different environment you can put it to get the highest and best use of your time.
King Tay.
Hello, good evening. So my name is Shantae Bugs, and I'm within the beauty industry. I'm a hairstylist, and I have a hair salon. First of all, I want to thank you for giving us gems tonight. I actually have two questions, but I'll start with the first one and then go into the second. So for someone who have already been through the experimental stages of, I guess, a hobby, they've made the decision now that I do have a product or a service that can gain me revenue and profits. I want to go into an actual business now. A lot of times I do see, like what you stated before, is we're so, as small businesses, and because we're going through trial and error, we don't have all the knowledge we need up front. So therefore, we go along building a business that doesn't have the correct structure, and we're not building it on a solid foundation. So now as we grow, now we're getting more information, and we're like, you know what, my business might not have the correct foundation and the correct structure I need for the vision that I have for my business. So what is something, can you give me key components that a small business should have as far as a team when they have already made the decision that they want to go into business? Meaning, you know, CPA or attorney or maybe business consultant, because a lot of time we may be the woman or the man with the plan, but don't have the education. And therefore that hinders us moving forward, because now you're doing this and that wrong when you didn't even know what was the correct way to do it from the get-go. So what are the components that you need when you make the decision that I'm going into business, so you can kind of eliminate unnecessary trial and errors and mistakes?
We're going to start with your first question so I don't forget it. All right, so there's internal components the business needs to have by itself. Every business, whether you're selling donuts, law, real estate, there's certain components that every business has, core components. And then what your second part of the first question is what type of advisors that you need, right? So let's go to the first part. You said hairstylist?
Yes.
So how do you make $1 million?
Clients or products that you're selling.
So products or clients?
Yeah, I do both. So it depends. Are you asking me in general, or
where you are right now as we speak?
Oh,
how do you go from January 1st, 2021 to December 31st and make $1 million from your business?
So a combination of revenue from service, products, as well as like renting out the space. So investment, like investing in the business and me getting return back from the stylists that I have renting out booths. So rental.
So let's go into your numbers.
Okay.
So you think you're going to make $1 million where you are right now with a combination of you providing services, you selling product, and renting out space.
Correct.
How much do you charge for your services?
Want my exact numbers? You want my exact numbers?
Yeah, exact number for a client. Because do you have hairstylists under you?
So they're all independently contracted. So they just pay for.
Do they share revenue with you?
No.
They're paying booth rent.
They pay booth rent, and then I have my own business as a hairstylist that I provide products and services.
So how do you make $1 million if it's only you sell products, and then you said the other one is the booth rent?
Correct.
That's all your revenue streams, right?
Yes.
How do you make $1 million? How much do you charge to do hair?
It can range anywhere from $150 up to maybe $650, depending if the product is included.
And how many people can you do in a day?
Right now, maybe about 4.
2?
4.
4 people? So let's do best case scenario. I'm going to give you $1,000
Okay.
per head.
Okay.
You can do 4. You're doing $4,000 a day? How many days a week you working?
Well, that's one day. Because if you're giving me $1,000 per client and I'm doing 4 days, that means I'm making $4,000 in a day.
$4,000 a day. How many
5
days a week?
5.
5 days a week? $20,000 a week? $80,000 a month. 80 grand times 12?
960.
960. Can you do that?
I mean, I'm not doing $1,000 a head, but I mean, not in this market. I don't think so.
I'm giving you the best case scenario. So the best case scenario you cannot do, right?
The best case scenario, if I'm getting $1,000 a head, absolutely.
Can you do that right now? Are you getting those clients in at that rate?
Not $1,000 a head, no.
Okay. So now we got to do your average number.
Okay.
What's the average you make per head?
Average per head, I'm gonna say about $225.
What's the average client you see a day?
4.
So you're in your book 5 days a week.
5 days a week.
So 225 times 4.
I don't like you in my business right now. I don't like that.
That's what business is.
I was
You want to ask me a question? I have questions too.
I wasn't expecting to get all put all my business on Facebook Live.
It's about the numbers. I'm not counting your pocket.
Okay, come on.
For all I know, you're a millionaire. I'm just counting your average numbers.
Okay.
Okay. 225. So you're telling me you book 4 people every day, 5 days a week. You don't have no occupancy issues.
On months when I'm doing what I'm supposed to, yes. Not traveling and not doing this and that, yes.
You want me to be your advisor? We can't talk about months when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
That brings me to the question that I was saying about, if it wasn't really so much about breaking down the numbers, or maybe I'm wrong, maybe it is about breaking down the numbers.
It starts with the numbers, because business, okay, when you go see the doctor, is it not about the numbers?
Yes.
Do they just say you have high cholesterol?
No.
Or do they do blood work, and then they say, based on these numbers, you got high cholesterol? If I don't know your numbers, I don't know your issues. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your issues. Because you're telling me about components, you can't even hire a marketer to come and do marketing for you if you don't know your numbers. You can't even bring in a finance person to help you finance your business where you can get a loan if you don't know your numbers.
Okay, so what in the event that you know your numbers, because I just don't want to share all my numbers and put all my business out right here on Facebook Live and in this
I'm
group.
okay with that.
So that's why, so it's not about the numbers, it's about how do you allocate the budget and the numbers that you have in the correct space that's needed. Sometimes you can over allocate on marketing or on promo, on saying you need an attorney or this, and you might not even be there yet.
I have two things for you. Don't be ashamed of your business system. When I was only making 1,000, I was only making 1,000. And I let everybody know I'm only making 1,000. I'm a young lawyer. Give me a shot. I promise if I get there, I won't forget you. You need to be transparent, because we're not here to look like we're making money. We want to be making money, right? And if you don't come telling the truth to us, how can I really advise you? And that's a lesson for any advisor that you talk to. Don't go to your CPA like you're a big shot. I don't know what I'm doing, I'm gonna be honest. Everyone in my family looks at me, I gotta pay for my mamas to go to school, I gotta pay for my daughter, I gotta do this. But really, when I get in my business, half the time I don't even know what I'm doing. That's where we start.
And I feel like that's why I'm there, but for me, I feel like I'm making the money, I just have no structure. So for me, it's not, I can do hair all day long and sell wigs all day long, to be honest with you. It's just that, are you structuring it the right way? Meaning, I have an S corp. I don't pay myself the way I should. The way I do my taxes, I do the business, and everything from the business goes to the personal. I don't necessarily.
But do you see? And so you got.
So it's a structure.
You got
so it's
structure
like
where you're based. But do you see when I ask you a real concrete question? How do you make $1 million? You're supposed to reverse engineer that. Mm-hmm. I gave you the best case scenario at $1,000. You made $960,000 for the year. When you gave me your average number, you were at $225,000. So we already know your price point. You're not going to get to $1 million by your own services.
Okay.
So you already put an X on that.
Okay.
Then you go to your products.
Okay.
Right? Because your products can be sold simultaneously as you're doing work, which is very good that you added that. But you got to be very careful when you're multi-servicer.
Okay.
Because you take away from other things when you bring in other things if they all can't stand strong on their own. And to push a product is no joke. You're competing with Target, Sally, everybody else. Why should they use your product? If you're thinking that it's an add-on for the hairs that you do, then you're basically seeing 4 people a day when you feel like it. You say, when you feel like working. That's not a lot of product, because product has costs. And the people that move product are doing it by the millions, multiple millions, to make the profit margin, right? So as much as you think the product is good, the person selling you the product is really using you as their first customer. Because you're paying probably retail, or they tell you it's wholesale, but you're the one that takes all those boxes that you got in your place, you got to figure out how to move it. They already made their profit.
Right.
Just like the hair business. I talked to a lot of young ladies in the hair business. I said, how much did you pay for the hair? Oh, I paid $100. How much you gonna sell for? $120. No, you making the person that sold you the hair rich because they paid $20 and they gave it to you for $100. And you're trying to mark it up to people that don't want to pay that for it. Right. That's why you have to know your numbers, because it's not gonna make sense no matter how much structure you put into it. The numbers don't make sense, though. You just wasted time on that structure.
Okay.
The structure will not work without the numbers.
Okay.
Right? You go to your booth rent, you're already capped by how much space you can get rent on. So is your booth rent going to get you to $1 million?
No.
You could already say for the month what your booth rent's going to be. So once you know your numbers, you're asking for structure, when your numbers hasn't even proven that you're ready.
For the structure.
Because the first structure is you do it when you want. And then you can't do no business when you want. See me, my firm's making money right now whether I want to or not to. Even when I don't want to make money, I make money. I woke up yesterday, I don't want to work, I still made money. It's not based on my wants.
And it's not tied to your hands.
It's not tied to my hands. It's its own operating machine that I look at reports and I judge it by the numbers, like my doctor does when he says, Skinner, you're getting too fat. You need to lose weight. Go look at that scale. I can't look at that scale and say, Doc, you're wrong. Doc, I want muscles. I'm asking for muscles. You're telling me look at the scale. You're fat. That's what the scale's telling you. You gotta be honest as a business person. Business is so honest. You can't hide. You can't lie. You can go front on social media all you want and make it look like everything's going good. But those numbers, at the end of the day, when you file your taxes, you know what you made last year, no matter how much hope or how much you wanted to make. And so that's where you start.
I love the brutal rawness of it because that's what you get when you deal with a real bank.
Correct. You go to a bank for a loan right now, do you think you're going to tell them when I want to, I can make $1 million? I looked at your financials, you made $10,000, we can't lend you no money. Your wants never come into the equation.
Okay, so knowing numbers is first.
Yep.
Know your numbers, know your wants. Do you want to know your numbers?
Because your numbers dictate the whole conversation.
With no numbers, what are we talking about?
So we're not taking any more online questions, so we're going to take these two. When you deal with a bank, the first thing, even getting a loan, it's how many members do you have? Great, you know that number. How many members give? How much is the average of every member that gives? If you don't know those numbers, there's no way you can ask for a $2 million loan because they're going to reverse engineer it and say, okay, you got 2,000 people coming, how many of them are actually giving? You have to know those numbers like this because your numbers are your business.
Correct.
And that's what he's doing.
And I set you up because we all can live in hope land. I love when people tell me, I'm going to make $1 million this year. And I look at, it's just that easy. I look at, no, you're not. Because you don't know what it takes. Like, guys, y'all can't let social media keep fooling y'all. People are not making money. People are scamming, yes. People are not paying their taxes, yes. But if you're doing everything right, you're not meant to just be a millionaire. It doesn't work that way. That can be your aspiration, but you got to be honest with yourself to say, how do I even get to 50 grand? Okay, now that I got to 50, how do I turn that to 100? Okay, I got 100. Because guess what? When you're making 100 grand a year, your wants go out the window. Because now you're a machine, right? I wake up at 5 in the morning. Whether I went out the night before, I go to bed, I'm going to wake up at 5 because I wake up and I look at my numbers. I got money in the bank and I look at my bank account every day. Because I think for some reason someone took 100 grand from me. And people got $5 in the bank, they don't even look at it.
So true.
They walk around like everything's good.
Know your numbers.
Know your numbers, then you're going to see what you want because that's how people take advantage of you. When you don't know your numbers, you're going to go to this attorney. Oh, because he's an attorney, he's smart, he's going to give you something that doesn't work for you. Oh, we're going to give you a multi-layered LLC, tell you all this fancy thing, you're going to walk out with this big binder, and then you're going to sit there and wait for your clients to come in. That binder didn't have nothing to do with doing hair. So when you know your numbers, you know what you can deal with and what you can't, what makes sense. People can't shift you. Because I know my numbers, you can't tell me, Skinner, give me 100 grand for marketing. What's your conversion rate? Because I already have my money in marketing somewhere else. I can weigh it against it, right? Everything is numbers-based in business. Then you get to the passion, what you want to, all these other things. But if you don't know your numbers, you don't have anything, to be honest. The data will drive you. You got to be data-driven when you're in business.
Thanks, King Tay, for being our experiment. You handled it like a G. We appreciate it. Jeff, Rabin, and then we're going home because I'm getting hungry.
You're hungry? You eating some grill tonight?
Hello, my name is Jeff. I'm a CEO of Des Noir Elite Photography, and I just launched a fashion brand. My question is, I have two questions. One is, when you were building your team, what were some of the things you were looking for in individuals to surround yourself with? And the second question is just about how to use your business to obtain a business vehicle. Is my
Business what?
Vehicle. A
Business vehicle?
A car just you use strictly for the business.
Okay. So number one, how do you judge your team when you're building a business? For me, I said Napoleon Hill's Laws of Success because it has it laid out what type of chapter by chapter, the skills that you need to be successful in anything. And what I did is I took out the core skills in that book that I believe for me is what I choose on my partnerships is loyalty, dependability, and ability. So I told you I was doing the EOS, which has get it, want it, capacity, right? That's why I was able to say, oh, they kind of fall into my core values. Now, I say loyalty and dependability and ability because people confuse loyalty with dependability. Loyalty is when you're with someone, they put the best interest of yours before their own, or the best interest of the business before their own. In the business world, they call that fiduciary duty. You put the business interest before your personal gain, right? Dependability is that they're gonna show up. See, people confuse that. People think loyal people are always gonna show up, but there's loyal people that don't show up. When they get there, you can trust them, but you can't trust them to get there. Right? Then you have dependable people, but they're not loyal. They will always get there, but they're not there for you or your best interest or the business. They put themselves first. So you gotta see, that's why the words matter. So we look at our loyal friends. How many loyal friends do we have? But we know when they get there, we'll fight the whole club together. But will he make it to the club? I don't know. And the one that's next to you in the club, you know for sure he's running. Right? So then you gotta do ability. Because when you find someone that's loyal and dependable, they show up and they always do what's best for you, they just can't do the job. Yeah. So they say, let's fight the club. They're punching in the air. You have to fight for them and yourself. You're gonna lose. Where if you had someone that was at least dependable and able, he knows to push in the right direction. So when you find someone that's gonna show up, and when they show up, they do it for you and what's in your best interest, and then they're able to do what they're supposed to do, that's a good partner. And that's a simple analysis for partnerships. And then the business question that you asked about putting a vehicle, all you gotta do is get a CPA, and you have to show that the vehicle is gonna be 100% used for business purpose. And then you have to buy it through the business, and you're gonna have to get that commercial insurance. That's what everybody doesn't think about. It's not the same as your regular insurance.
You lease it under your business.
Correct.
Which would be easier.
Mr. Scanner, how you doing, sir?
How you doing?
Nice seeing you today. You don't recognize who I am?
There's only one guy that has a big beard and a helmet in his hand. Barbara Ray.
Yes, sir. So you
what's going on, brother?
I'm here, man. I'm here. So today, the question I had was, once I know you guys talked about niche and a proven product. So once you're a business personnel and you know these things, how do you utilize that to approach the bank? What is the next step to do to approach a bank to get the proper funding from them?
Here's this biggest secret people don't know about the bank. They give you money when you don't need it. They don't want to see your business struggling, and now you're asking for money.
Exactly.
So when your business is popping, you should be at the bank, building relationships.
I just met with them. I just want to make sure.
And like with me, I'm with SunTrust. SunTrust just merged with BB&T. And I had some big transactions come through my account. I remember one time I had 600 grand come through. And they have what's called premier bankers. Once you make a certain amount, they put you like, okay, these guys, you don't get treated the same, my friend. They tell you, we got money back here that we've been holding for you guys. It's a whole different relationship. They push money on you, right? But this 600,000 came in. It sat in my account for like 30 days. I moved it. I invested it somewhere else. My banker was so hot. She called me. She said, "Oh my God, what did you do with the 600,000?" I said, "I put it somewhere else." She was like, "I wanted to sit with you." I said, "Well, you didn't call me." Now it's the Navy Fed who gave me a good deal, right? I make the banks fight each other. Because when you have the money, you have the power. And when you have the power, you can negotiate. But if you go in there and you're struggling, your numbers aren't strong, and people think it's the cash flow that comes in. No, they want to see the balance. You can't have $1 million come in, $1 million out, $1 million come in, $1 million out. You're a high-risk guy. Because how do you spend $1 million in 30 days?
Sure.
Right? They want to see $1 million come in, $250 come out, $750 stays, $1 million come in, $250 comes out, that turns to 1.5, right? You're more trustworthy. So when you start thinking about banking, you got to start thinking about how your books are set up, how your business is set up. If you've been doing magouillet, right?
I don't know what that means.
Oh, I thought it was Haitian.
Not everybody's Haitian.
Oh, okay. Magouillet means if you've been doing mess, right? If you've been doing mess in your business, now the bank sees your mess. You've been paying your mama, your baby mama, your sister. They never show up to work. They're looking at it. Why is your payroll so high, sir? That's what financials do, guys.
Yeah.
Financials are historical. You did the transaction, but it's registered forever. Explain this. The IRS is going to say, explain that, Gucci. The bank's going to say, I don't understand your business. Your margins are too low. Because you're living, and that's why I was telling the young lady, you can't live off your business. Because what you did is you drained your business, and you don't have a business at that point. So the bank is not stupid. They're looking at, can you service the debt? How much cash flow do you have that, and they want the ratio to be high on their side. If you got $1 million coming in, they're going to lowball you. We're willing to give you 50,000, 100,000, because they don't want to take the risk of giving you $1 million for $1 million. That doesn't make financial sense.
That makes sense, yeah.
So know your numbers once again, guys. Once you know your numbers, shop the banks, because every bank is different.
Mm-hmm.
I love credit unions.
Yes.
Because credit unions are more community-based, and they have a vested interest in investing in the community. When you go to these national banks, it's about profile. If I'm Bank of America, I got almost $1 trillion in assets. I don't really care about your $1 million, sir. But if I'm a credit union, McCoy, Navy, Fed, all these other guys, $1 million sitting in our account looks great for our books. So understand the banking relationship and what you bring to the table. So shop the banks, make sure your business is in order, make sure you're not draining the company. Another thing is, I don't know why people pay themselves high salaries. Like, your salary should pay your living expenses.
That's it.
Right? Me, as much living expenses as I have, how do I not live off $150K a year? Like, how much money am I really spending at that point? So if your business makes 600 grand, how did you pay yourself 500 grand salary? You didn't reinvest it in the business. You're not the business. The business needs things to survive. People, systems, technology, things that could have went other ways. So also allocation of resources is important in the business. Like me, sometimes I'd rather not take no salary, hire somebody new and give them my salary. Because at the end of the day, I own the business. I'm still going to get paid at the end of the day. After everything's paid, I get the profits. So keep that in mind too. Don't drain your business, because that's also going to reflect when you go for that loan. So that's what I say. Know your numbers. Get a CPA involved. They're going to want to see your P&Ls. They want to see your balance sheet. Make sure you have all your financials in order. They're going to want to see at least 2 years.
Yeah, I know that for sure.
Right? You can't go in there and say, I was just hot this year. What about next year? They're going to give you a hot 5,000. Yeah. So that's all it is. A bank is like a real relationship, right? Credibility matters. I want to know how long you've been a good person. Not that you were just a good person this year. So I want to know your track history. And I want you to know that you know what's going on with your business and that you're not the biggest threat to your own business. That's all the biggest thinking. If I give you this $1 million, are you going to go buy Gucci with it? They're going to look at all your bank statements and see Gucci, Prada, Balenciaga. They say, well, are you in the design business? You say, no. I'm on a med spa. Remember that.
And so true, so true. They do look at what you wrote checks to. And they do want to know, why are these things lining up with what you do? And banks have different conversations with different people, right? And like he said, once you have a certain amount of money at the bank, so John Morgan says, you buy insurance when you don't need it, because when you need it, you won't be able to get it.
Correct.
You take the line of credit when you don't need it,
Correct.
because when you do need it, you're not going to be able to get it.
Correct.
So while you're hot, you want to take advantage of all the things they're freely throwing at you, because when you do need it, they're not going to give it to you. It's like Monopoly. You know, they want to make sure they win at their own expense. And that is a very true thing. Being with a bank is like a relationship. They got to know you, they got to trust you, and be very careful referring people to your relationship.
Oh, yeah. Because remember, they hold the money. And guys, I'm not lying to you. There's so much money out here. That's the first thing. People worry about money. You guys, when y'all get to a certain level, they don't know what to do with the money. But they want to be prudent with the money, because their job is to make money off their money. But money's not a problem when your business is working. What you do with the money is the problem. And that's what they're looking at.
Guys, this was worth more than a 4-hour course at UCF. Clap it up for Skinner.
Thank you, everybody.
I want to encourage Nate's going to come and share some quick information with you that are watching online. Tomorrow night we have prayer. I believe that you can be as successful as you want, but being successful at business does not mean you're successful at life. And I think prayer is a critical piece to ensuring that. So tomorrow at 7 o'clock we'll be here. And I want Nate to share this piece, and then he will close you all out. Thank you all for your time.
Did you guys enjoy tonight? Come on, let's give it up for Skinner and Pastor David for doing this. Thank you guys so much for all of this information. This is invaluable. How many really learned a lot tonight, right? So, on Sunday, we're launching Kingdom Entrepreneurs. It's a space for all of our members to be able to come to a place and get this type of value. I'm glad that I'm at a church where we have a pastor that invests in us. There's some places that you go, you don't get this. So it's going to be once a quarter we're going to meet. It's going to be immediately after service this coming Sunday. It's going to be called Kingdom Entrepreneurs. We're going to be doing these type of meetings once a quarter. And it's going to be a space. It doesn't matter where you are in the process. If you are an entrepreneur, if you're just kind of deciding if you want to step out of the boat and do it, this is a place for us to come together, meet together, exchange knowledge with each other, connect with each other, so that we can create a community that we can grow. So let's stand. I'm going to pray for us to go. I just want to thank you all for being here, seriously. And I'm glad that everyone got something out of this. So, dear Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight for this opportunity that you've given us. We understand, God, that we could have been anywhere in any moment, but you purposed for us to be here to get this information. We ask, God, that what we learned tonight help us be better, help us to grow, and help us to be all that you've called for us to be. We thank you in advance as we leave this place. We never leave your presence. Give us traveling mercies as we go. Bless Skinner and his business. We ask, God, that you multiply it for his sacrifice and his time, that what he's given to us tonight, that you expand and enlarge his territory. And just as you're blessing him, we lift our hands and say, God bless us. We love you. We magnify you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. You guys have an awesome night. Thank you guys for coming tonight.